Okay, so for today's video, I'm going to show you how to create thousands of cold emails using AI. I've personally used this method for my own AI agency and for myself as well. So if you're a business owner who has been struggling with your general outreach to get more sales in, this is going to be a perfect solution to help you save tons of hours in your day. All right, without further ado, let's dive into the demo to see how this thing can be built. Okay, so for this demo, we're going to use NAN, as we always love to do, to go through a simple flow of how to generate emails for outreach. So in order to do this, we're going to run through this flow, and this flow is going to end up populating a little Google Sheet that I have loaded up. So in this Google Sheet, we've got first name, last name, email, website, the company location, the company name, and the draft email. And then from this, you can basically blast it out to however many people you want, use Instantly AI as a tool to potentially be able to send it out and that sort of stuff. So let's dive in to the workflow. Okay, so in our workflow, we've got about 4 main steps. The first, what we're going to do in order to get this working is scrape some leads from Apify. We love Apify here. This is a tool that's going to be able to generate a bunch of contacts for whatever company, whatever industry that you want. So that's going to be our first step. The second one is from those links, it's going to be a bunch of websites and web pages associated with the company. And what we're going to do is we're going to extract what those websites and web pages are, provide a bit more context of when we write our email. We're then going to clean up a lot of this data. So there's a lot of steps into here. We'll get a bunch of messy data coming through from our websites, and we're going to make sure that we end up cleaning it so it's in a good format. We're then going to feed it into an LLM as the final step and eventually generate our email. So those are the 4 main steps, and we're going to walk through exactly how to do this. All right, so to start off with, we're going to scrape the leads from Apify. And the first step we're going to do is click when clicking test workflow. This can be a schedule trigger. This can be whatever you want. The next bit here is get lead from Apify. If I go to on the right-hand side and I click Apify, we'll see this console here. We can click the arrow and we can say run actor and get dataset. And what this enables us to do is to connect to our Apify account, run an actor, look at our recently used actors from our list, input some JSON, etc. So let's go through Apify. So in Apify, what we want to do, we want to get this actor called lead generator. Now you can use Apollo, you can use other different tools, but I find this to be pretty simple. Again, it's quite cheap as well if you're going to run like 1,000 leads in here. And you can essentially go to the App Store and then just type in lead generator. I'm sure you'll get a ton of different options coming through. This, you can select your name, your job title of the people you want to scrape, the email, if you have something specific, company, industry. So what I basically picked for mine is I picked management consultants who are small, medium businesses. So maybe 11 to about 60 people, and anyone who's essentially based in the UK, in London, because that's where I'm from. So this is going to be what we're going to scrape. And what you want to do is when you get to NAN and you click on the Apify logo, there's a few things in here. So you can run actor and get dataset. And when you click from list, this will generate a list of your existing actors in your account. Scraper, LinkedIn, these are the ones I have, but lead generator is the one that we just went through. And that's the one we want to select. If you want to know how to link your Apify account, let me know, but it's very simple. You can essentially click the edit icon and I'll give you an API key to connect it. Now, to make sure we get the right actor, we have to put this JSON in. And this JSON is not something that's going to magically, you're going to start typing. You can actually get it from Apify. So if I go to the actor, and if you see here, there's a toggle called JSON, and you can literally just copy paste this whole JSON. It comes in with your filters, etc. that you basically want. And as an output, you're going to get an extract of your Apify scrape. So I think I just ran it for maybe I ran it for 10 different results. So you can get first name, last name, email, title, ton of stuff related to a company that you want to scrape. And then what we want to do is we've got about 10 different leads coming through, but the data is kind of messy. So we want to make sure for our purpose, we only want to keep websites and emails. So a lot of the leads, you'll notice, don't necessarily have any websites and have no emails associated with them. So we want to discard them essentially. And it's a very simple. We can click this filter, only websites and emails. If you want to click and drag website URL, which should be down here, and you can just click and drag it here. And same with the email as well. And then just say exists, and it will filter out only the ones that exist. So that's our kind of scraping done from Apify. Once you connect your account, it's pretty simple to be able to get your leads that you want, as long as you know what type of leads that you want. And we're essentially filtering it down to, all right, these are the necessary leads that we want to extract out of it as well. Now, from that data that you get, and we showed in Apify that there's a ton of information you get from there, we essentially see a lot of websites that appear for every single lead. And these websites are going to be able to give us more context for the prompt that we want to create for the email. So what you want to do here is you want to click HTTP request, and that's going to be the same logo that you're going to get here. So you want to click get as a request. The URL, you do want to extract the website URL because that's what you want to scrape. And again, you can extract it from here on the left-hand side and just click and drag it across. And then you want to get turn on redirects in here. And you can put it to 21, but you can put it to whatever number you want. For my case, I put it to 21. I think that's a good number. And what that's going to do is scrape the websites that you got extracted from Apify. Now we have a ton of websites coming through. And what we want to do is now get the HTML content from those websites. So if I just go back again, you can type in HTML and get this logo here. Okay. And then for here, what we're going to do, you can see our last input from our scrape creates a ton of data that looks like this. Embedded within here, we are going to have loads and loads of links coming through. So there's going to be links embedded within this massive text. And to get those, we want to put these functions in. So links, CSS selector, attribute, and href. Href is basically anything that is starting with href will give us an actual link in itself. So that's a nice, easy way to filter out where we can find the links, essentially. Otherwise, it's going to get really messy. And as an output, what we're going to get is links that look like this. So we get it in a nice array. A lot of nulls we can see. We can see a lot of websites that do get repeated. So the data here is still quite messy, and these are not necessarily, these are just the full websites rather than the web pages themselves. Okay, so we scraped Apify and we've extracted the websites and web pages. The next step, what we want to do is clean up a lot of our data. So we're going to create a loop, and what a loop is essentially doing is saying for every single website that I have and for every single lead that I scrape, you want to execute them one by one. If we throw in to NaN all of the web pages for every single lead that we have and do them all in one big chunk, it's going to take a ton of time. So we want to do a loop. So we're going to put this loop over items icon, which you can get again from the right-hand side, and you can split it in batches. If you remember last time, we got a ton of links extracted out, and that's how we want to split it. So one link at a time per lead. We then want to put another filter in. What this filter will do is it will make sure that we only want to keep things which start with a backslash. And what this backslash will do, it will bring out the individual links that are within the website and help it make it a bit more discreet rather than having the whole HTTPS request. That is there as well. So it's going to give us the individual web pages rather than duplicated websites, hopefully. And from here, you can just select from our split out function, click and drag links across to say and put starts with for our filter. The output of it will look something like this. So you get an array links with different pages. So privacy policy, industries. It does start all with backslashes. We can see in here as well. But to make sure, we want to put some code in. And to get this code icon, again, go to the right-hand side, type in code. This is just a bit of code that we're going to put in order to make sure that we are just getting only the backslashes in, and we're just fixing some functionality. To be honest, I just used ChatGPT for this and it somehow worked. So if you want to use the same thing, or if you're a coder and you want to code another version like this itself, but this is just a bit of a fallback or a bit of cleanup activity that I'm doing in case the backslashes don't always work. It also removes a few other items from here. So some of the ones which were null, it got rid of. We can see it's just leaving us with the backslash and every single page. So it makes it a bit more tidier. If you want to keep it in, you can. If you don't, feel free to leave it out. We then saw on our code page, there were some duplicates. So what we want to do is we want to remove duplicate URLs, and there's going to be a function on the right-hand side where you can remove duplicates, and you can say, do you want to remove all duplicates of fields, or you want to specify. In our case, we had privacy policy, which was duplicated, for example. So you can see that's now been removed once we've gone through this step. And to get this, as I said, you can just type in, if I can type, remove duplicates, get the same icon. You can click and drag it here. This limit function is optional. This is one I just did for the purposes of this demonstration. This is going to just reduce the volume of data set that we have. So if we had 10 items coming through, then what we're going to do is just say, let's pick 2 or 3. Again, you don't need to put this in if you're doing this for your own self or for a client, for example. Generally, when I do it for a client, for my agency, I generally don't put limits inside because they want the whole data set. So if you click limit and I put 3, and you can do first or last item, and you can see on the right-hand side, we've got 3 pages. So privacy policy, alternate investments, and financial services as 3 web pages from the company. Now, for every single web page that we want to have here, we want to now extract the data. So we've done a ton of work scraping and getting to the point of, okay, here are our leads. For every single lead, here's the website. For every single website, here are the different web pages. Now here's a tidied up version of those web pages. We now want to figure out, okay, what's actually inside the web pages? What does it tell us about the company? So we're going to get another HTTP request. So what we're going to end up doing is get a HTTP request, like I showed you before. But we want to get the links that we got from before as well. So we can just click and drag the links over here. And then for every single website, what we want to do is make sure we filter for Markdown. So Markdowns, for those who don't know, it's basically like a language conversion to make sure it's in a readable format. We put it into the AI and we can remove stars and convert them to certain HTML formatted scripts. So what we can do, we can again get the data and we can just put something like this inside and put HTML to Markdown. Okay, once we've done that, we want to generate and store email. So we're going to run 2 ChatGPT functions here. And what you can do, you can just on the right-hand side, click Open AI. And from here, you can select, you have a ton of messenger model, which is the one that we selected, and you can click and drag that across. Now for that, we can double click here and connect your OpenAI account. So you can press the edit icon and put your APIs, etc. inside and select your model. Now the magic here comes really in the prompting. So we're going to put a few prompts to say, you're a helpful, insightful website scraping assistant, to give it some role. And what we're going to do is now put a prompt to tell us to summarize the website. This is going to make it really easy for when we create our email. So we've scraped our websites. We now want to summarize the information that's inside it. And we can put this prompt together. You can put something similar if you want as well. And put some rules inside there too of how you're going to end up scraping the website, what tone you want it to use, how you want it summarized, etc. And the source you want to use for that, you can say the data that we have for the Markdown. Now, right now, I have to run it to get the full results and get everything fixed, but you get the idea. What we then want to do is go to aggregate, and aggregate will help us, just as it mentions, aggregate all the data that we want in the individual fields together. So we've got one combined data set. So it's not all filled with uniques, essentially, right? We want all of the different links for every single lead to speak to each other and form one single context. And then what we're going to do is go through another Open API messenger model function in here as well. So you can click messenger model, double click this, connect to your OpenAI account, GPT 4.1, the same prompt that we have. And this time, this is going to be a little bit longer. So as you can see, I've given it some context of how I want it to be formatted and structured. I put some placeholders in here just to say, okay, here's the name of the company, here is the context behind it, etc., etc. And this will just give it a nice little structure to write the email, but make it not very specific. And then I put some rules in here as well of how I want it to be formatted. You can use something similar. You can tailor it to whatever thing you're scraping. So in my case, it was management consultants. So I formatted in such a way that I think it would be suitable for more professional services industry. But if you're doing a marketing agency or something a bit more casual, you can make it a bit more friendlier, change the tone up, that kind of stuff. So if I go back, that was my prompt. Now what I've done, I've just given it an example of how I want the prompt to run. You could put an example that's more relevant to your industry, etc. And for this section, what I put in is I've just selected the right fields that I want to have for this. So first name, the last name, and the headline, and the website as well. So you can just extract these from your loops and your items that you have on the left-hand side and click and drag them all in. This is just giving it some more context on the profile of who the person is, etc. Click simplified output, put it as a JSON, and you can put the randomness in here as well. So you can change up in terms of how structured you want to format it, etc. All right, that's our whole generation done of how we generate the email. We now want to put it into our sheet. So as you remember before, we had our sheet, which had these columns in here, and we wanted to essentially make sure this is all populated. So if I go to my sheet, I can say sheet, and it will select Google Sheets. And we want to append a row in the sheet. So we want to keep adding rows in the sheet. If I double click it, we connect it to our account. This takes a bit of time, but you can use Google's APIs and connect anything else Google related to the sheet within document, because let's say we have two sheets. We want to select a specific sheet, append the row, document ID. So to get this, you can go to your Google Sheet, and on the top URL, you can anything from the slash to the slash. So in my case, 1 to 0, you can copy and paste that in as the ID. I'm then going to say map each column manually, and then this will give us an option to say what our columns are inside our Google Sheet. So I'll read our Google Sheet. It'll have these empty boxes, and we can just click and drag whatever fields we want from the left-hand side, which are relevant for our Google Sheet to put in. So if you want to put the icebreaker in, you want to put the first and last name in from the profiles that you got of the lead generation a while back from Apify. You can put their first name and last name in as well. And do that for every single row. And now what we're ready to do is execute the whole workflow. So if I just unpin some of these that I had, if I click, okay, now we're ready to run a whole workflow. I'll click execute. You'll see it'll take a bit of time in order to get through every single step. Okay, so now it's done that successfully. We got all green ticks in here. And if we go back to our Google Sheet, we should see a row added for one particular lead. So we've got Danny Davis at Consulting London, and we've got a nice email in here that is formatted in the way that we requested it in our prompt. And now this is something that we can send out to him and replicate for literally thousands and thousands of different leads in here. So in Apify, you can see it's only $2 for every 1,000 leads, and you get up to $5 free credits. So you can do this basically for free. And if you do 1,000 leads, you are going to get for sure a ton of responses back. Hope you found that demonstration of how to automate thousands of cold emails super useful. If you're a business owner who is looking to build a solution similar to this, I actually run my own AI agency where I can show you exactly how to do this for your own business. And if you're looking for other solutions and other agents to build for yourself or for your own business, I've got a guide down below which has about 50 agentic AI use cases that you can get for free right now. And with that, I will catch you guys in the next video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys soon.